Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be building a 60s themed fallout shelter house. So this house was inspired by an article I had read online like a year ago. And basically the article was talking about this house that was, I guess, on the market for sale, but it was built in the 1970s, and the basement of the house had this like giant super fancy fallout shelter built into it. And what was really special about this particular fallout shelter was that it was essentially a second house built below the first house on the surface of the ground. So basically they had built this big fancy house below ground, so that way then in case of, nuclear war or the apocalypse, they could go to their basement and still keep living that fabulous 1970s life of luxury. It was like super fancy. Like there was a pool and they had like fake trees and fake grass set up so that it looked like the outside. And, there was a full kitchen and living spaces and bedrooms and everything that you could possibly want in this house that you'd be stuck in for potentially a very long time. It was there. And because it was built in the 70s, it was very outdated, but the pictures online were just really cool to see. So I had actually found this article about a year ago, and at the time, I tried to make it in The Sims, and I didn't record it because I didn't really do much with YouTube at that point, and I don't know whatever happened to it. I never finished the house, so I never shared it to the gallery, and I can't figure out which save I put it in, because typically I keep all of my builds in one of two saves that I have that are separate from, where I'm doing like actual playing of the game. But I have no idea what happened to it. So I'm just saying it's gone for good. And I decided to give it another shot and actually record it this time and share it with all of you. So for anyone who doesn't know what a fallout shelter was used for, basically they kind of came about after the end of World War II, during the Cold War. And basically they were built to protect people from nuclear fallout, thus the name fallout shelter, or potential radiation exposure from nuclear weapons. Specifically nuclear weapons that could have been used against the United States. So basically most of them at the time were standard bunker types of buildings. Very utilitarian, bunk beds, typical of what you would see maybe in military barracks, and pre-packaged food that didn't require heating, and water, and that was about it. Not really much for living, but enough to keep you alive, essentially. And typically they were put in the basements of already existing public buildings. For example, I know my local post office, which was built ages ago, has a fallout shelter in the basement still to this day. I don't think it's used for anything. I don't think you can get into it, but it's still there. Because you can know if your building has a fallout shelter in the basement from days gone by. Because the outside of the building will have a metal sign that's black and yellow that has the radiation symbol on it and says fallout shelter. So, these signs were used at the time to help people know where to go in case of an emergency. And they would do things like air raid drills and that sort of thing, and you would have to go off to your closest fallout shelter. Actually, the college that I went to, one of the dorm buildings, which was from, I believe it was built in the 40s, but they went ahead and put a fallout shelter in the basement of it too. So they're kind of, in a lot of buildings, like public buildings like that from the 40s and 50s, you'll see them around still, but they're they're not being made anymore for the most part. So they're kind of unusual to see now. But anyways, so not only were there fallout shelters for like regular people, but the US government actually built specialized fallout shelters for like the president and the vice president and members of Congress. And specifically, they built a big fallout shelter in the basement of the Greenbrier Hotel, which is in West Virginia. And it was huge because it was big enough to house all of Congress. So we're talking like, you know, a couple hundred people here. And it had enough supplies in it for all of those people to stay down there for 30 years. So, you know, do the math. 3 times a meal per day for 30 years for that many people. Like, this thing was giant. And at the time, the US government refused to acknowledge it. Like, they wouldn't acknowledge that they had built this giant underground bunker for all of Congress. So I guess in the early 1990s, somebody wrote an article somewhere online, or maybe not online, probably an actual article, like, you know, in a paper or a magazine, things we don't use anymore. But anyways, an article about this secret bunker was published, and like magic, as soon as it was published, the US government decommissioned it. So I guess they acknowledged it eventually. But anyways, so if you want to learn more about this or fallout shelters in general, I recommend reading the Wikipedia articles on both of these topics because there's like a ton of information. And I had heard about the Greenbrier Hotel before I even like looked up information about this build. I can't remember. I think it might have been on a Travel Channel show at one point. I don't remember. But in any case, I find all this sort of stuff really fascinating. I don't know why, but it's just one of those, like, I don't know, like periods of history where things are just a little strange, but still kind of familiar. And to me, that's interesting. So anyways, so this particular house, I built this house in the way of the upstairs of the house seeming normal. Like, there's a kitchen, there's a living room, there's a bedroom, there's a bathroom. But in actuality, if you look a little closer, you realize that you can't actually get into any of those rooms. So basically, this top level is essentially a decoy house. So in my mind, I've pictured that the Sims who are living here are maybe a little paranoid, and they've already decided to go live in their bunker in the basement for the rest of time. So for whatever reason, maybe they're concerned about aliens, I don't know, maybe they think that someone's coming for them. They've set up the top story of their house to look like people live there, but really no one does. And I've designed it specifically so that if you look in the windows from the outside, you won't think anything weird is happening. You'll just see like, oh, there's a normal kitchen, and oh, look at that cute little table and chairs with the flowers on it, and oh, I mean, even out back, I put a grill and a picnic table on that little patio, but there's no door to get outside, so you can't really get to it, and the whole yard is totally fenced in, so you can't get to it that way either. In the bedroom, I've pulled the dresser over so that it's in front of the door, and then in the bathroom I put a houseplant behind the door so your Sims can't get into the bathroom, and then in the archways for heading in towards like the living room and the kitchen area, I put those folding screens. I did change them out. I originally had them as 2 separate screens, but I did change them so that they were the same type on both doorways because I thought it looked a little bit better, and the one that's kind of bent a little more makes it seem like it could be like a bifold door, but obviously in The Sims we don't have bifold doors, those don't actually fold up, so they're stuck the way they are. So everything on the surface appears like normal, and I mean, I didn't want to spend a ton of money on this upstairs part because no one's going to be up here, so everything is pretty basic. I went with like a green and brown and orange color scheme because, again, that seemed pretty appropriate for the time period. This is kind of like loosely 60s/70s a little bit. It's not really hard and fast in either decade. So, there's probably some, anachronisms here and there, but basically it's supposed to look a little old. And one thing I did want to mention is that if you download this house, you will have to place a mailbox because I forgot. There were a lot of things in this house and I forgot the mailbox. I did remember the trash cans this time because that's another one that I sometimes forget. So if you download it from the gallery, the game will automatically place a mailbox, I believe, for you. Like, typically it'll do it right behind the front door, which is super inconvenient. So what I did is, I think it defaults to like the basic white metal mailbox that comes with the base game. Personally, I recommend using the one that comes from Oasis Springs, which is actually the world that I built this in anyway, but it's the one that has kind of like the bent Z-shaped pole, because it just sort of fits the house better, I think, but the choice is yours since I forgot it. This downstairs house, which is the real house, I originally built it to be on the exact same footprint as the upstairs house. But after I put all the furniture in this living room, I realized that this was going to be too small. It originally was going to be a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom house, but I decided that I didn't have enough space to do a kitchen or a living room justice, and I really wanted to get another bedroom in there too, because the bedrooms are, they're a little small. They're not too small, but they're a little small, and this way then you could have a bigger family living here. So I expanded the house immensely, made it a lot bigger, and now there's room for another bedroom, and like the kitchen is much bigger, and because my thought was, in theory, the people who would be in this house would be in here for potentially a very, very long time. I mean, like 30 years maybe. So I would rather be stuck in a place that was like more open and maybe a little bit less claustrophobic feeling. So that's why I made it bigger. So yes, I've also kind of kept the kitchen and living room area. It's more of like an open floor plan for that same reason, because really, I know stylistically people weren't really doing a whole bunch with open floor plans at this time period, but for this particular house, I just thought it suited better. I've also kind of stuck with like a gray, white, and blue color scheme for this big open area in the kitchen, dining, and living rooms, because I liked that the gray and white were more neutral. There also is some black, but not very much. And I also thought that with like the blues and the gray is more of a cool toned gray, and I thought that just seemed calming. Like if you're stuck down here, bad things are happening upstairs. So anything that might help calm you down and stay level-headed, I thought would be appropriate. Which is why I've also put in a bar. So, if you're stuck down here for a long time, at least there's juice to drink. So, yay. I've also used a lot of furniture from the Bowling Night stuff pack, which hasn't really been a very popular stuff pack, I know. But I've not necessarily for the content, like the gameplay content, but I do like a lot of the furniture that came with it. So there's quite a bit, because it's all sort of in that like retro-y, vintage, 50s, 60s kind of themed. So there's a lot of stuff from that. I also designed the kitchen to have a lot of storage, because you would have to have space to store, pots and pans and dishes and glasses and, even like dry goods for a very long time. And in retrospect, I realized I probably should have put in like an actual walk-in pantry / storage room of some sort, like off of the kitchen, but I didn't think about doing that until after I had uploaded the house to the gallery already, and I didn't want to take it down and re-upload it, and what's done is done. But in reality, there's a lot of storage in the kitchen, but maybe not necessarily storage to store stuff for many, many years at a time. At least not food anyways. So I also wanted to try to do a 2-story house underground, because this house in the basement, it's not 1 story down, it's actually 2 stories down, just because I thought, let's give them an extra floor of protection from any radiation upstairs. So I put it 2 stories down, and then after I was building, I was like, well, maybe I could try to make it the 2nd story so that then they would have more space and it would still be underground, but the 2nd story of the house would be the first basement level underground, if that makes any sense at all. But anyways, so I tried to do that, but unfortunately, if you're building a basement, you can't delete the ground of the basement to show the real ground below. So I don't know if that makes sense or not, but basically I wanted it to feel like it was a regular 2-story house just deep underground. And if I did the 2nd story and I tried to delete the floor, it still would show me like a fake dirt floor instead of showing me where I've put like the grass and the fake sunset outside on the 1st floor. So that's why this is only a 1-story house, because really it would have been awesome if I could have done a 2-story house, and I could have worked, but aesthetically it didn't really make a lot of sense to do it that way. So the first basement floor doesn't really have much going on. It's just a stairwell basically. So the living room has like a TV and a video game console and a stereo and a bar and a computer. So I tried to make it so that there would be a lot of different entertainment choices, because, you could be stuck down here for a long time with not much to do. So I also, when I was filming this build, this took me a very long time to do. I wound up with 4 hours of footage and I trimmed it down a lot and I sped it up a lot, obviously, but I cut out the footage of the bathrooms and the fake backyard, and the real backyard upstairs, just because they are pretty much the same, like in any build, and especially you'll see it all in the screenshots at the end, but to me it just didn't feel like it was a worthwhile enough thing to show video of. So you'll see it, it'll be there. But so what I did to make this fake yard area was I used the grass floor tile to make it look like there was a grassy yard. And then I also used the wallpaper that I think it came in the patch when we got toddlers, because we got several wallpapers then. And I know the wallpaper in one of the kids' rooms is also from that same patch. But it's sort of like, even the title of it says something about like sunsets or sunrises, or it's like on a gradient, so it sort of looks like it's a sunset. So that's why I picked it. And then I also decorated it with like the fake cloud wall decals, and I even put in like the cloud ceiling lamps so that it looked like there were clouds outside. And above the hot tub, I put in a big round yellow light to sort of represent the sun. I know, it seems silly, but it's a light that genuinely provides a lot of light, and I thought for a while that the basement area, or the backyard area outside was a little too dark, so it's kind of cheesy looking, but it did serve a purpose. So outside there's obviously a hot tub. There's a grill and a patio table with chairs, like it's one of those 6-seater umbrella tables that came out with one of the stuff packs, which I can't remember which one it is. There's been so many. I love the stuff packs because I really do enjoy the content that comes in them, but we've had so many, I can't keep them straight anymore, especially because it seems like we've had a lot that are like backyard themed, and I get them all confused. So anyways, so there's that, there's a hot tub, there's monkey bars for the kids. I tried to fit in like one of the actual jungle gym playground equipment things, because I thought it would be kind of like a fun touch to have the one that's like a spaceship, because it seems like quirky and retro, but it would have taken up the entire yard, so I decided to skip it and just put in the monkey bars instead. I also put in one of the play tables with, like, I mean, they're not Legos, but we all know that they're Legos. But yeah, one of the play tables that came in, I believe Parenthood was the pack it came in. And I put in a couple of gardening planters, so, because your Sims can't actually grow anything on this ground because it's fake. And the game knows that, apparently, because I couldn't even use, like, the brush, because a lot of times I'll use the brush tool to create, like, worn out patches of grass, like underneath things like playground equipment or underneath, like, bushes and trees, because it makes it look more real. Yeah, but I couldn't do that here. So everything outside looks very fake because it's very flat looking, but in all honesty, that's kind of how the house in this article looked out, like, with its fake yard. Was like, you look at it and you know it's fake, but it still sort of tricks you for a split second anyways. So yeah, so I thought that was kind of a nice touch. I also put in some trees. There was one tree in the game that was not too tall, because everything else I would place it and, like, the tops of the trees would stick out into the story above. I was like, no, we're not. That doesn't look good. So it's like one of the palm trees, which is the only tree. It's used all over. And then there's some bushes and flowers, and I tried to make it look, you know, as pleasant and cheerful as possible out there. I also put in some string lights from the toddler stuff pack, I think. So yeah, so this bedroom here that you're looking at is the kids' bedroom for, like, a toddler and a younger child. I decided to I haven't done this before. This is the first time I had made a bedroom that had a toddler bed and a kid's bed, and they matched. For some reason, I've never done that. So, and, you know, I tried to make it seem like there's a lot of toys and clutter, and, like, you know, this is definitely like a lived-in kids room, but it kind of skews a little bit younger. And then this bedroom here is in, like, grays and whites with a little bit of dark brown. And this room is still a kid's room, but it might be like an older kid or a teenager's room. There's still toys and stuff, but there's not quite as many, and, like, there's, like, the Void Critters battle station thing, and there's actually a desk, but there's also, like, a stuffed animal, and yeah, so I always forget that the teenagers can't use the Void Critter thing, because to me that seems like such a teenage item, like, because it's supposed to be based off of, like, Pokemon cards, and, like, I mean, Pokemon were pretty popular in kids I went to school with as a teenager, so I don't know. I know there used to be a mod that let you have any age using the Void Critter cards, but I don't think it's been updated in a very long time, and I don't think it works anymore, but if it does, or if you know of a mod that does work, that would let any age use the Void Critter stuff, let me know, and you could install it and use it in this house if you have teenagers who want to play with Void Critters. So I also tried to make it seem like there was a good amount of storage in the kids' bedrooms as well, because, again, they would be here for a really long time, and you have to think, too, kids grow. So clothes that would fit one year may or may not fit the following year. So that's why I didn't want to do two of the exact same bed here, because that seemed a little too matchy-matchy, but that's why the one bed is the one from the kids' room stuff pack that has the underbed storage drawers, and, like, there's a nightstand with a lot of storage drawers in it, and yeah, so I tried to give the illusion of lots of storage options for the kids. I also tried to make both of the kids' bedrooms a little bit gender neutral, since, you know, in, like, a post-apocalyptic type of situation, you could end up sharing a bedroom with your brother if you're a girl, or your sister if you're a guy. Like, it just sort of depends, because really, it's like the end of the world. Do we really have time for separate gendered sibling bedrooms? Probably not. So, to appeal to as many Sim children as possible, I made both of the bedrooms pretty gender neutral. So yes, so there was my thought on that as well. I don't know that I mentioned this before, but I made the parents' bathroom kind of like white and clean. And then kind of on the opposite end, I made the kids' bathroom. It's like dark blue / gray with like black. And it's a little bit funkier because I thought that could be appealing for the kids. And it would also potentially hide dirt, which is always good because in reality, you'll probably have at least 4 Sims using that same bathroom. But, you know, beggars can't be choosers. And really, I think that this house would give your Sims a lot to do if they didn't want to, you know, go upstairs to where there's potentially nuclear radiation happening. I also gave it the no visitors lot trait as well. Just because that seemed like it would be a good choice for a house that would be like a post-apocalyptic type of world. Yeah, so you won't have like random Sims showing up on your door, not ringing the doorbell, and it's like, well, okay, we're supposed to be in like a nuclear fallout situation, and you're bringing me fruitcake. So, yeah, so anyways, so this house is available for download on the Sims 4 gallery. There will be a link directly to this download in the description box below. Or you could also find it using my origin ID, which is Mrs. Tomato 1018. Or you could also look for the hashtag Mrs. Tomato 1018. I've been really good about remembering to put all of my builds under that hashtag. Generally with builds, I upload a video for it eventually, but if you look through my gallery page, you'll see that there are some builds that I haven't made a video for. Some of them I haven't filmed it, and some of them I have filmed it, and I just haven't gotten around to editing yet. So that's a fun little surprise for everybody. So yeah, so if you liked this house, please let me know. I really do appreciate any and all feedback, because, you know, I'm trying to like improve myself as a builder and be more creative and do more unique and different things. So seriously, if there's feedback, let me know, because I would love to know it. Also, if you have any ideas or suggestions of things you want to see me try to build in the future, please let me know. I do have a list going of things that I want to try to get to, but eventually that list will run out. So if you think of anything, let me know. Because I'm always looking for more inspiration and more fun things to do and try in this game, because, you know, it's just a lot of fun. And I really do enjoy trying to, like, build more creatively and do different things, and yeah. So, what else? So yeah, so you'll get a good look here at all of the different rooms and the screenshots, and, you could also, I forgot to mention this before, if you wanted to make that upstairs house part of this house, you could do that very easily. The other thing you could do is, if you like this house and you want it to be on the first floor, you could do that by deleting the stuff that's on the first floor and the first basement floor, and then just moving this up room by room. It would be kind of tedious, but if you wanted to do that, you are more than welcome to, or you could just keep it underground, because, you know, that's just kind of fun. So anyways, I think that's about it for me. So again, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more videos like this one, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I'm trying to do 2 videos a week right now, and so far I'm doing okay with that. So yeah, so things to look forward to in the future. Yay! So anyways, I think that's about it for me. So I hope you guys liked this video, and I will speak to you guys soon. Bye!